And hello, welcome everyone to another episode of Stu and the Nun. Again, like the last couple episodes, my video is not lined up with my audio for any reason. I do not understand why that is. Toby should look fine because you see I'm joined by the other half of the show, Nunn, my good friend, my partner, my brother from another motherland, Toby Nunn. What's up, brother? How you doing?
Good, man. Hey, first of all, the intro gets me verklempt every time I see it and hear it. And I also am enjoying the fact that I feel like you are Kung Fu Troy right now because everything's like not aligned. You're like, you want to fight? Fight me. Oh,
No,
yeah. Tiger Claw. So, you
I
know,
don't know what's going on. It started that a couple episodes ago. I thought I've like restart my machine. I shut everything down. You and I were just talking before we started, and everything is fine, right? Everything's in sync. It works good, and for some reason, that this happens. But anyways, good to see you, brother, and
yes,
good to
no
have you
worries.
back for this special Memorial Day episode that we are doing.
Yeah.
Um, Here in 2023. So I'll let you go with it. People have been listening to me for a while. They haven't had to hear from you in a while. So I'll let you kind of kick up and let you go into whatever you want.
So, it's always humbling, uh, you know, to have conversations this time of year. It's always humbling to kind of share with people a little bit about the human condition that I've been fortunate enough to experience, and part of that human condition that we've had the blessing to experience is warfare, and there's nothing more real, uh, truthful than than warfare. Like it's unadulterated truth. The truth about you, the truth about your training, the truth about your ideals, the truth of your spirit.
Your
Uh,
character.
it,
I've always said
it's
the
all there.
bullets, yeah, bullets in the cold will show the true soul of a man.
Yeah, a cold for sure. That's why I keep getting as south as possible. Um, like, but no, it's always it's really humbling to be able to talk about some things. You and I, we're just in the green room, kind of talking about a couple of things. But recently, I found myself walking in Arlington National Cemetery, uh, and for the obvious reason of being there for a dear friend, and man, like I gotta tell you, like if you've ever, and I know you have, um, been there at the National Cemetery for a graveside service with honors. There's some pomp and circumstance to it for sure.
Right.
Uh, there's in the I'm even though like it's the Third Infantry Regiment Patriots that handle all that stuff. I'm not a DNC guy, and so I'm glad that they're the ones doing it. And as an infantryman, I never I was blessed to be just short enough to not have to deal with that. And but some things were said there that were really powerful. It's said at everyone, and it's the explanation of why you're there and who is there. And it's not just necessarily identifying people by name, uh, but it's identifying people by accomplishment and by accolade. And uh, there's a price that has to be paid to be buried there, and that price is not monetary. And the only way to be in Arlington National Cemetery is to earn your plot there. And there's a formula, if you will,
Hmm.
about what awards quantify and qualify you to have paid that price or earned that plot. And there's 500,000 souls interned at Arlington National Cemetery, and 500,000 heroes. And, so like that word gets thrown around a lot, right? It's overused, kind of like sniper and seditious. But that's the cost of freedom. Like when you walk, you know, amongst the stone there, like you understand that there's a price, there's a value, and there's a cost. And the cost of freedom is underneath that granite. It's underneath those stones. It's in those urns. And you know, when I was a little kid, we learned remember, Remembrance Day for us in Canada,
Right.
or the Commonwealth, and one of the very first poems I learned as a kid was "In Flanders fields, the poppy grow on the crosses, row on row," and you know, you're taught this reverence and this understanding, and then the cost. You've learned, it's not knowledge of, it's acquaintance with the cost, and to walk amongst those stones and to know the price and to know the value, but to feel the cost uh, is just remarkable. I've never felt so insignificant. And a hero is someone that gives everything that they have for someone they don't know, uh, and someone they'll never meet. Like when that guy runs into a burning building, he's a hero because he's giving it all for someone he doesn't know, and someone that he wouldn't have met if he wasn't running into their house on fire. And everyone that's under the grass and the trees there at Arlington National Cemetery and under the granite, like they gave everything that they had for people they will never meet and they will never know, or they never did meet and they never did know.
And if I could jump in, people they probably very well could disagree with, maybe not
Probably
have anything in common with, not
severely
vote,
dislike.
not vote like, not look
Yeah,
like, not love like,
yeah,
not anything, right?
yeah,
That's why it's the ultimate sacrifice.
and
They don't. It's
probably
not like they're
severely
going, well,
dislike.
I like the way that guy had this kind of he wore the right color hat or put the right color sticker on.
Yeah,
I'll go save them. It's not even a question. It's not even a
no,
thought. They just do it.
no, and so like there's there's some things that you know I you know the Commonwealth, uh, they lump everything together, and at first I was very kind of biased, with my Canadian background that you know you can just have one holiday, you know, you don't need two. Well, I agree. I think we only need one holiday, um, but it should be Remembrance or Memorial Day, and not necessarily Veterans Day, because you know Veterans Day has been bastardized. It's been commercialized. I mean, it might as well be Valentine's Day. Hallmark, might as well be in charge because Applebee's giving out discounts and like
Free dinner if
that's
you pick one of these five things off the menu, but only these
yeah,
five.
yeah, but like nobody raised their hand and signed their name so
You get a free
they could
chicken
get
dinner. Right.
so they could go to Applebee's and get and if you did, well, all right, cool. Um, I don't think you're the same as some of the guys that I met and girls. Um, but Memorial Day is is really uh, is really interesting. A drill sergeant. I'm going to bring up Sergeant First Class Kevin Cheney. Um, he was a drill sergeant of mine that made such a dramatic impact that remember everything about him that I can. And he wore a memorial bracelet, and he explained bracelets to us. And there was another drill sergeant there that was wearing a maroon bracelet, uh, and he wore a black bracelet. And the maroon bracelet was for a POW, and that was to keep hope alive. I haven't seen a maroon bracelet in a long time,
Yeah.
to be quite honest with you. Um, you used to see them a little more frequently. People had some kind of family connection, and someone was missing in action or a prisoner of war, and they had the maroon bracelet. But I've a s- I have some memorial bracelets, and you know I wear them. Sometimes rotate them out, uh, just so I can feel attached to the person on it. But I don't wear it to bring myself down. I don't wear it to be depressed, and I don't. And when people ask me about it, I'm very careful about how I talk about it, because it it is somber, but for me, it's a somber reminder to be joyful. Um, because every guy and one girl whose bracelet I wear, uh, I have no doubt that they would want us to be flipping burgers, barbecuing, drinking a beer, having a shot at the lake.
That's the same
Um,
thing I said the day I was on Dave's show last week on Thursday, and that's the same thing I said to him.
yeah,
My attitude changed over the last 10 years, where I was like,
yeah.
they would want us, because I know we would. I know you and I would. If we were under the ground, we would not want our family to be around sad and somber. We'd want them to enjoy the freedoms and liberties that our life was given for.
No, like I'm like looking over there because I see if it's within reach. Yeah, Jake Demand, a guy, uh, sergeant. He was, you know, with us with the Tomahawks. Yeah, I'm gonna just digress for a quick and just share his name and keep it alive for a few. But the Jake Demand, he was supposed to get out, um, and he begged to stay. We're getting ready to go to Iraq. This is in '03, and he begged to stay. And he was part of our platoon, and he was a vehicle commander, an E5 sergeant, and he didn't want to get out. He wanted to extend. He was a good, strong infantryman. He was a woodsman. We called him Critter because he was an avid outdoorsman, and he would befriend a possum if he could. And they said no. At the time, our leadership were like, "We don't need anything. The war's going to be fast. It's not even going to count as a war." Blah blah. No one's there's no stop loss. Blah blah. And they kept him behind so he could ETS. He cleared out, man. He had cleared CIF, and they stop lost him on terminal and brought him back. And he didn't run, he didn't hide. He energetically joined us on the battlefield in Mosul. Uh, Unfortunately, we'd already been plussed up, and so he didn't return to us. Um, but we helped him find a really good job in our sister unit, 114 Cab, which was they just got strikers and they were becoming a Rista, like a,
Mhm.
and he ended up getting killed in action. And one of my other soldiers, Ryan Mullins, was horribly and traumatically injured in that same exchange. And he was one of my machine gunners, and he broke his ankle in the parking lot. Just stepped off the curb wrong, freak accident right before we deployed. And Jake kept him with him, like he, like a true NCO does. Took responsibility for his guy and kept him with him the entire time because they couldn't come back with us to our platoon. And you know, and gave his life. And you know, the reason I was looking over there is because like his young son Josh graduated high school, sorry, college, uh, graduated college, technical school last weekend, and and so it was like you know the kids are growing up, and
Yeah.
life goes on, and Jake, wouldn't want me to be boo-hooing his loss. He'd want me to be looking out for his kid and living my life and being a good dad because he's not able to be
Right.
because he's
Right.
not here. And like I hear a lot of guys get all boo boo face and butthurt. Like Memorial Day isn't for mattress sales. No, you're right. It's not. Um, but it is for this country. Like it is a day of celebration for this country that we're so blessed that such men lived
Right.
and such men died, that if we have a mattress factory in Sealy, Texas, and you want to get that Sealy mattress, you do you.
If you want to get
Um,
5 bags of mulch instead of 4 for $10, if you want to get,
yeah,
yeah,
you, you
exactly.
you do you because uh, in the end, like yeah, maybe someone's capitalizing on freedom. Good. That's why we fucking fought for it.
Right.
Like,
That's why we have
like,
capitalism. Yes.
yeah, like,
Yeah.
sorry. I know that's probably unpopular, but
No, I think that's becoming, I think a lot are thinking that way. I don't think you and I are cutting edge. I think a lot are sitting there as we mature and get older and we grow for a lot of reasons. And we look back. I mean, I've had this thought now for a while. It's been like, yeah, I know that, people would sit there, you see the movies, right? You see, they're like, take care of my boy, the guy's taking his last breath and he's gripping his buddy and saying, watch after my family, watch after my son. And I got to imagine if these guys, some of them are, and if they're able to look down, that they're looking down on this day when you've got burgers on the grill and you've got a 12 on ice and you got people throwing the frisbee and someone's throwing ball with your son or something like that, and your wife's bringing out a big old plate of fresh cut watermelon and all that kind of stuff, that they're like, yeah, I wish I was there, but I'm not, but I'm glad they're doing it. I got to imagine. I mean, uh,
yeah. And
I say all the time, Memorial Day is not for us. Every day's Memorial Day to us.
yeah,
I mentioned
yeah,
this to David. We think about those guys and gals we've lost
yeah.
over and over. It's for the rest of the nation to take a pause and be like, yes, if that's the only time they think, at least our country has set aside a day and given them the day off so they're not so busy with work that they can sit there and maybe if they think about it before they bite into that burger or dog, that they thank God that they have these freedoms they do because of these people that gave their lives.
No, like absolutely. And you know, you won't find a more ardent supporter of the Bill of Rights. Um, and number one, you know, freedom of speech.
I'm speaking tomorrow, Toby.
You know,
I'm sorry, today. I'm speaking today on Memorial Day at an event in a place called Cheektowaga, New York. It's right here. It's in the suburbs of Buffalo, and I've been invited by one of my old soldiers who's a town councilman to talk. And I'm going to be talking this exact same topic. I'm going to be trying to educate as many civilians as possible
yeah,
that if they take nothing else away from this day, it's that we're not asking a lot of you. We're not asking for $1. We're not up at midnight. You're not watching
yeah.
sad puppy dogs and I'm asking you for $11 a month or nothing like that. I'm just asking you to bow your head and thank God that you live in this country that you do, and that the people were willing, that you, like you say, never met, never will meet, were willing to give their life up for you to have these freedoms and luxuries.
No, yeah, a couple of years ago, and I'm laughing about it because I know you're going to make fun of me. The I was watching not an American do one of the most American things ever. Mel Gibson in The Patriot, and and man, I don't know if I've ever been so thankful that some guys would stand up in a church and and volunteer unorganized uh, to live in the swamp and live off the land so that we have what we have today. Like, uh, you know, just like, I am just in awe of people that sat and listened to the radio and watched the television when their draft number got called and reported and didn't have in their heart, in their lineage, what you had, what I have. Like, your father and my father, definitely different perspectives. Your dad was a snake eating Green Beret. My dad was a pacifist. Like, we come from, different spectrums there. But, what's in our heart is the betterment of everyone around us.
Right.
And, this tool that provided it to the world and continues, for the most part, to help the world be a better place is the American soldier. I mean, like, there's some great Canadian soldiers out there. You know, ask anyone that knows anything about Juno Beach. You know, you point to Hawk. Like, they're
Right.
think of these great places that all these different countries have served. But in the grand scheme of things, like, you can learn anything you want to learn about Greece. You can learn anything you want to learn about Rome, but you will never find anyone that's more directly connected to the betterment of the human race with more impact than the American soldier. Uh, and I'm open to any conversation about it, to and not to argue and not to fight about it. Just teach me, because that's what I've seen.
Right.
Like, like one of the greatest civilizations to ever exist. Like, and what made it? Guys willing, and women, primarily men though, as we have seen, like, do amazing things, knowing that it's going to cost them everything, and
And
that just
you talked about just being in Arlington. I mean, when I go to DC, it's almost always a stop, and I can just plan a half a day at a minimum just to walk there. And I've seen every different aspect of it, and I've seen things a lot of people haven't been able to see there. But it's still just so. When you look across, literally that sea of just white headstones, just in every direction, as far as you can see, and you think about what's the story behind that, how many family, what's the ripple effect from that person being lost, right? And that doesn't even count the crosses in France, right? That doesn't count
mm,
the tombstones at every federal cemetery across this country, right? Like, say, much less other countries. But just to be in Arlington at the seat of it is just, I don't even know if humbling's even the word, but it makes you feel like
half half a
half.
million,
Right.
half a million, and so, like, well, like, you know they do their whole thing and they talk about, the size and the footprint, right? They talk about the real estate footprint. I'm like, uh, like, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive. And there's other things there as well, right? You got the tomb, uh,
Right.
you got facilities,
You got the eternal
and
flame. You got, I mean, all that other stuff that.
like, you have presidents, like 4 stars, 3 stars, 2 stars, 1 stars, full birds, captains,
And privates.
privates.
Yeah.
Like,
Because at the end of the
yeah,
day, yeah, at the end of the day, they all get buried the same, right? We're all,
you
regardless
know,
of what they did or what's on their shoulders or whatever collars,
uh,
right? We all died the
there's
same
a
way.
there's a price, there's a value, and there's a cost, and it's all there. That's one of the few places on earth that you will see it all
We
and
talked
understand it.
about price and cost before we came on air, and you had some very good things that you kind of how you put that into perspective. Do you want to hit on that a little bit?
Like a, a, a lot of people, put things in a monetary value. Like that's kind of our society. Keeping up with the Joneses. Uh, Everyone's impressed, with money. Everyone's impressed with fame. Like you know, pick any of these, young rising influencers, like that think that, you got, and no disrespect to this guy's accomplishments. You got that guy, Andrew Tate, right? Top G or whatever. You got these guys chasing clout and, they like, I got this Bugatti, I got this Rolex, like I have this many followers, like
Right.
I can, you know, that's just that's a price. There's a price tag, right? Like that's just the price. What's the value of their existence? What's the value of what they're putting into society, into their community? Yeah, then maybe there's some value that they're putting in. People always use that buzzword, like I'm going to add value to your organization. Um, and then there's the actual cost. That's not monetary. That like one of the greatest lessons my dad ever taught me was about margin and like saying no to good things so you could say yes to the best of things. And like he didn't take an opportunity you know that would have kind of changed our financial outlook when I was a young kid. He was a single dad, um, because the cost was going to be time away from me. And he knew that I needed to be raised. He knew that I needed more attention because I was a rambunctious shithead as a kid. you know?
What?
No, like keeping it real. Like my dad knew
Right.
that if he took that offer, it was going to be to my detriment, not to my benefit. Not because I'd have better tennis shoes, or I wouldn't be going to the swap meet for super tax every year, and I'd be getting new ones. It was because the cost. It meant if I had new CCM super tax, he wasn't at practice. He wasn't at the game.
Right.
Like if I got new Adidas soccer cleats, like and not hand me downs, he wasn't there because he took this, so he said no to some good things so he could say yes to the best of things. And that's so
Right.
that he could time. And, you have this price, which is, everyone wants to talk in monetary value. And you have, the value, in the value doesn't always match the price, but sometimes it does. But I can tell you, and I guarantee you, the value when it comes to the human condition has never matched the cost.
So if I could put this in a perspective that's kind of somewhat current, let's just talk about the withdrawal from Afghanistan, right? The people will say the price was the $64 billion in stuff we got back, right? They'll put that as a
No,
price, right? Let's just say
yeah,
it's
no, of
64,
course,
give
of
or take,
course.
right?
Like here, yeah, we're talking budget numbers, right?
But then so then we talk about the cost. Well, then we talk about the value. What's the value of had we stayed there? What is the value for the long term for the region and for this world had we kept a presence, right? Is that value, could it ever be measured? Could you put a tangible number around that? Not sure, right? But it
No,
definitely was very
it's hard to
valuable.
measure, but it is measurable.
It is measurable, right?
There's
But then we
metrics.
but then we look at the cost besides 13 lives, right?
Oh,
Goes those were in the moment, and you could put your thumb on them and you could say yes, those 13 lives. But then we look at the lives of all those that got us to that point in Afghanistan, and we look at the lives that have been lost since, of the people that have had to deal with how that happened. Then we talk about a cost that is unmeasurable, in all ways. Whether I'm not talking financially is the smallest part. I'm talking of the psyche, of the spirit, of the relationships, of everything else, of the cost of not those 13, but all those that died in Afghanistan to get us there, that we walked away from, and then all those who have struggled with and had issues with how we left and since we left. I mean, we saw that in the congressional testimony that Scott Mann, our friend, was in, and the young
Yep.
Marine with the no legs. You saw it visually right in your face right there. But take that and multiply it times a million of what's happened across this country. I think that's a great example of the price, the cost, and the value of one event. Would you agree?
Oh, great context. Um, you have this understanding and these talking points, right? Like this many billions of dollars in equipment, given to the enemy. Uh, After twice that value of equipment was used against the enemy. Uh, then you have like these metrics. There's absolute metrics and analytics about how successful, how many schools got opened, how many roads, infrastructure, like girls, like let's say the value of life put on a female during the time spent in Afghanistan versus the time we exited Afghanistan. Like pretty confident that every single humanitarian organization in the world, even the Islamic ones, will tell you that the value of a female in Afghanistan is different under the Taliban than it was under an
Mm-hmm.
elected government, right? No one's going to dispute that. You have all these metrics and analytics that you can look at and to talk about value, but the cost, um, you know, I, if the administration understood and actually comprehended the cost, they wouldn't have made the decisions they made.
Right.
And I have to believe that. Like, you know, I don't believe that they are so sinister that they deliberately, knew the cost and were willing. I think they just didn't comprehend it. And that's the difference, of people with knowledge of and people with acquaintance with. And, another Dale Nunn quote there, but it's the cost of those 13 souls, at that gate, that's not the entirety of the cost. We're going to be paying and dealing with the cost of that decision and that failure for probably a generation.
If not
And
more.
it
Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely will have generational impact. But we will be directly dealing. I mean, I'm going to bring up your father's war. All right. And let's talk about Vietnam. We are still, you and I, you especially more than me, deal with the effects of Vietnam every day. Like you can point to something in your life every day that's connected to the Vietnam War because of your family's involvement. And your family is still paying the cost of that war today, every day. And I love your mom, and like I'm thinking of her this weekend as well. And she's been on my heart a lot lately, especially after one of our conversations a couple of weeks ago when I was in Mexico. Like your family feels that cost daily. Like more than the 13 families of that one little incident. And I'm not belittling it. I'm not demeaning it, and I'm not minimizing it. I'm putting in context. That was just one thing that happened in that country. Like so much more happened
Right.
in that country. So much more. And so much more was paid and will continue to be paid. And, like I really hope, I really hope that we as a country figure out our messaging and start speaking to those that are going to continue to pay that cost. Like we had the opportunity with Vietnam to learn some things. We had some real opportunities as a society, um, to learn about how we message ourselves.
And for a
Like
while we heed those learning, we heed those lessons, but then through matter of convenience, speed, too busy, I don't know, we put them on the back burner, we forget them, right? It's the same.
yeah,
Look at the lessons that came out of watching Hitler rise, look at the and the communism rise, and look at our country today, right? So obviously those lessons have not, we're not going to turn the show into a political one, but I mean, you can see
mm,
it's clear and day, as clear as
no,
day, right? Those lessons have been lost through the years.
no. We had the opportunity, uh, with Afghanistan to have the benefit of the dress rehearsal of Iraq and Vietnam, Somalia. We've had some really good opportunities,
And we kept looking
to
back at those going, they're not going to be like this, right? It was like, no, no, not like that. No, it'll be nothing like
yeah,
that. It'll be a lot
yeah,
better.
yeah. The but you know, I don't want to just harp on one country, because the country that really matters is America, the United States of America, and that's the country that matters. And in the end, that's what all these great men and women gave their lives for. And you know, we we need to we need to refocus on that, um, because like you just said, man, it's so easy to get political on some things, and there's just one thing that we shouldn't get political about, and that's the sacrifice of
Right.
of heroes for everyone's freedom, the freedom to believe red or blue pill, the freedom to believe, you know, in a law or God or nothing, the to run amongst the trees and become a druid, you know, to yell skull and be an Odinist, you know, the ability to go to your school board and say you don't like, you know, what is on the curriculum. And, that's what everyone did this for, you
Right.
know, and, and we need to remember that. And, it's so convenient to distract people with these other talking points. But in the end, like this weekend, this holiday, uh, is a day of celebration. It's not a day of mourning. It's a day of remembrance. And I really hope, and you know, I'm, like I joke about it with my beautiful wife all the time that she's definitely outliving me, and so she's responsible for the party. Yeah, because uh, it should be a celebration, and it should be a celebration that all these great men and women lived.
Yes. Yeah.
Burn that beef. Roll them dogs and wieners and sausages on the grill. Cook that yard bird.
Yeah.
Splash in the pool, and you know, shoot some fireworks. Shit. As long as you're not in a drought and you're going to cause a fire.
Right. Well, on Saturday, I smoked 2 racks of ribs and 2 pounds of bacon for America. So that was we did a little early celebration.
I saw the picture. I saw the way you had it, the bacon dripping down on the ribs,
Yes,
and
always.
that's why I gave that little pick a heart. I was like, "Deke."
Yeah. Always letting the bacon drip down, and
Yeah.
absolutely. But no, it's you mentioned, obviously it was just topical. I know we've been going for a little bit, and we got to get wrapping up. But I mean, you were just in Arlington. You were just in the place that this weekend is all about, right? That they a lot of people
Not
gathered
just
there,
there.
not just
Yeah.
there, but ever. But I mean, it is a big deal usually.
Yeah.
Gary Sinise is there playing his band. He does that every year. He does all kind of stuff, and a lot. And the motorcycles come into town. I think they're still coming into town. A lot of folks like that. But you were there. um, for a personal reason, but you still walked among those that marble, and you still, the gardens of stone, which I'll be the first to admit, right? I've seen a lot of movies and I watch a lot of movies, and I've seen a lot of tearjerker ones. And it seems like the older I get, the more my sinuses kick in. But I can watch it one
One,
time. I can
one
watch
of the
it
most
100 times. I see
one of
Gardens
the
of
most
Stone,
underrated
dude.
one of the most underrated movies of all time.
Can't can't not have be emotional.
Yeah,
And even when I
yeah,
was younger, it didn't matter. That movie, oh, it just I can't. I'll be the first to admit it. I lose it. I mean, I can watch a lot of stuff, and I can desensitize myself to certain actions because I know it's a movie, and I know it's fake, and I know it's this and all that stuff. But I think maybe the difference is that one we know there's realism behind it. It,
yeah,
it, it wasn't a script made up by a couple of writers in a room in
yeah.
Hollywood. It is based off of real things that have happened and continue to happen to this day
No,
and will.
it's one of the greatest uh, and most underrated
Yes.
uh, films out there.
Yeah. But any I know we want to get wrapping up. Unless there's something else you want to cover. Any final thoughts or whatever? Since we've hadn't had you on for a while, and we got you on
No,
back on your show.
yeah, no, it's good to be back on the show. No, I just want to reiterate, you know, the you know it it is great uh, that we have this opportunity to draw our attention to the cost and to celebrate it. And man, have a great weekend. You know, try not to overcook the beef too much.
Yeah.
Like
Don't go above medium, please.
yeah, like a couple minutes both sides, a little S&P, maybe some Montreal
S&P
steak seasoning,
down the
yeah,
hatch.
down the hatch. Like don't overcook the meat.
Yeah.
But unless it's chicken, thoroughly cook it. The no, like have a great time. Spend time with your family. Like if you're to the guys, and gals with military background, that this audience touches, like, man, when that young kid, this is graduation weekend across America too, right? A lot of kids, are finishing their high school careers this week and next week. And
Or
if you're in
college
or
careers.
or college, like if you're in a position, a realm of influence, and they ask you about the military, be honest, be truthful. Um, remind them of the value that they could add to their community, even for a short period of time. Like I there's not many people that became worse human beings from being in the military.
Right.
Like you know,
It yeah. Almost
so
non unmeasurable. Like you just don't.
like don't shy away from those conversations. Don't shy away from sharing uh, about guys you loved and lost. Girls, same thing. Like that you've loved and lost for the cause of freedom, for the cause of this great nation. And you know, it. This is one of those things. Like those guys didn't. They weren't some woke political campaign. They were just guys and gals that made a decision to do and to give everything that they had for people they would never know, never knew, would never meet, and never get to see. And how blessed we are to be somewhere where we enjoy the fruits of their labor.
Yes. Absolutely. And for those sometimes our brothers and sisters in the military have a hard time when someone says Happy Memorial Day. The best advice I give is just take relish in their innocence and ignorance to what it takes to keep this country free.
Yeah.
And I usually reply with Hey, no problem. Thank you. And thanks I just say thanks for mentioning it. And don't forget, make sure you remember those at some point today. And I just reply with that. A lot of times people go, oh yeah. Right. But I don't get upset. And I advise
Yeah.
anyone not to get upset. Be like, you know what? Just in the back of your head, don't say it out loud. Just be like, wow, they live in such a great country. They really have no idea what they're saying because they don't know what the real cost has been. So just take it with graciousness and be
Yeah.
like, you're welcome. And hey, just think of those that didn't get to come back. And that's all
And,
you got to say.
and, something that, you know, a wise leader once shared with me about it, when someone around us was asking about, how to handle that conversation. It's like they're saying that to you because you're the only person they know that actually understands what that cost was.
Yeah.
You're the vessel
You're the
of
face of
their
everyone else.
message,
Right.
because you have a connection. So like, respect your connection. Don't be offended by it. And again, be like, how awesome is it that we live in a country where people are naive enough to make such a minor misunderstanding.
Right. Right.
Like,
Absolutely.
it's not worth the extra beat per minute.
Nope.
Like, in
Their
fact, it
their their
should it
intent
should
their
decrease.
intent as well. Their intent as well. They could
Yeah,
ignore it and
yeah,
not say a damn thing.
yeah,
Right. At least
yeah,
their
for
intent.
sure. Like,
Even if it's fleeting and it's only for a day, they made the effort and produced the energy to say something or show something or do whatever. Be gracious, like you said. You're the face of probably everyone that's ever served in the military, everyone that's been lost. You may be the only one they know, or the only one that they could even make a connection with. They may know of an ancestor that's done it, but you may be it. Take that with graciousness that you're carrying that cape, right, for everyone else.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a good point. But
All right,
all
man.
right.
I got to
All right,
get
bud.
going.
Yep.
Have,
Toby, great to have you on. Hope to get you some more and when we can. And good to see you, brother. Man, you're looking great. Mexico's treating you well. You lost a lot of weight. I didn't get a chance to say it before we even started. I was like, man,
we're getting
Toby's on that he's on that he's on that red rum diet plan. I don't know what that is, but man,
it's called not a lot of processed foods because
a
living
lot of good fish.
1,000 miles away from civilization, a lot of fresh fish,
A lot
and
of good seafood. You're on a
yeah,
good seafood diet.
I'm on the real seafood diet,
That's it.
not the seafood and eat it,
All
the
right.
actual like food from the sea. So
That's it. All right.
yeah,
Well, hey, thank you everyone for tuning in on the special Memorial Day episode. Thank you, Toby. Good to see you again, brother. Love you, man. And we'll see you next time. Everyone, make sure you stay tuned in on Stu and the Nunn, stewandthenunn.com. Follow us on all of our outlets. Thanks again to Alpha Elite Performance Gear for Grunts, Red Rum Sport Fishing, boohammer.com. All of our great sponsors. Check them out. And we'll see you all later. Everyone have a good day. Well, that wraps up another episode of the Stu and the Nunn Show, and we hope you had as much fun listening to it as we did hosting it for you. Don't forget to like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter. You can find all these links at stewandthenunn.com. We will talk to you again next Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. Also, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Commodity Outdoors, Veteran Outdoors, Enlisted 9 Fight Company, Warrior Media Solutions, and boohammer.com. Thank you again, and have a good night.